today I'm talking about releasing blocks that come from hanging on to yesterday's experiences as precedents and limits on today and tomorrow. So what you chose back then doesn't matter today unless you make it matter. We heal and release blessings when we claim the wisdom that was the gift of yesterday and then move forward with that gift. And my talk title today is It's Not About Yesterday. It's not about yesterday. So there's this little saying that says if yesterday is a canceled check and tomorrow is a promissory note, then what is today and how will you use it? Today is current. Today is currency. So how will we use it? So have you ever tried to deposit a check that's already been cashed? Have you ever tried that? We all know there's nothing you can do with a check that has already been cashed. You know, try walking into the bank with it, and pretty quickly they're going to discover the funds have already been distributed and the teller is not going to do anything with that check. So I learned the updated version of this not too long ago. I tried to deposit a check from on my phone that I forgot to mark as deposited, and somehow the system knew immediately like that had already been done. Like, I don't know how that works, but no good. At this point, you know, that's no good. It doesn't exist anymore. So the question is, can anyone point to the past? Can you point to the past? Where is the past? Where is it? Yeah, literally, if you've tried to point to the past, you're going to have to point to your head or your heart, because that's the only place it exists. It's not behind you. If you turn around and look behind you, it's not really there. Patty's there, Keith, but the past is not there. Patty, not Pat. Anyway, but how much of our lives do we spend acting as if the past is still real in this moment? You know, so many of us act that the past is still real and it has power and it's happening now. And not only do we act as if it's happening now, we assume that because something happened in the past, we can know that it will happen again. And when we do that, guess what? It often does. It often does. You know, we lament and regret our past choices and decisions and indecisions. And when we do that, we're actually dragging the past into this present moment. And that's the only way the past can stay real and impact us today, is if we spend time thinking about it today. The past is gone until we decide that it is not gone in our minds. And our minds are very, very, very powerful. We can kind of conjure up images of the past, memories that are so detailed and seemingly real that our bodies literally react as if they are real. You know, if we can think of a particularly enticing meal of our favorite food, our bodies can react and will actually drool while we think about it. Or if we remembered some emotional day gone by, we can produce those same emotions today with a thought. We can bring yesterday to today with so much power. And I don't know about you, but I can kind of get lost in the past in my mind. I can give a chunk of it today to the past so very quickly. All it takes is for someone to utter the words, "Do you remember when? Do you remember when?" And then following it up with such an interesting question, such as, "Do you remember when you took that softball class in college and you made a C?" There's a lot of irony in a lesbian getting a C in softball, I'm just saying. But if an old college friend were to ask me that question, I could easily slip into the past, kind of reliving the fun of that class. Playing, the least important position on the field, quite frankly, while watching all my sporty spice friends, try to hit home runs and stuff like that, right? But what tends to happen is there's a turning the corner of my mind to remember the reason I didn't get the grade that I wanted. My father died that quarter, and my C was due to unhandled absences, missing too many classes, and my emotions can get quickly tied up into that memory. Or other college memories are going to start flooding in, like mistakes of drinking too much, or words that were spoken in haste and broke someone's heart, or a missed opportunity. You get the picture. You go down the path to the past, and all of a sudden you're just like reliving a whole bunch of stuff. It starts off as kind of a fun kind of reminiscence, but it can quickly turn into a list of regrets and second guesses. And the past has a way of unfolding if we turn in its direction mentally. That world of college doesn't exist anymore, Laine, but it can exist in my mind. But what if we just accept that we did what we did and we didn't do what we didn't do? What if we accept that what happened, happened, and when it didn't happen, it didn't happen? There's no sense in wasting time on something that doesn't exist anymore. My definition of forgiveness comes in handy right here, because my definition is accepting that the past could not and should not have been different. If you've been around here, you've heard me say that multiple times. Accepting that the past could not and should not have been different. And forgiveness at this depth allows us to bring our energy into this moment instead of having it strung out along in the past. In our minds. The truth is that our energy is wherever we place it with our attention, and placing our attention in the past is a total waste of our energy. Let's also consider what happened in the past, and the stories we make up about the past are two totally different things. First, we have the facts. And then we have the stories we tell ourselves about the facts, or the meaning that we give to the facts. And I think it's really important that we examine our lives and separate those two things. Because these made-up stories that we tell ourselves directly create our future. They directly create our future because they define who we are in the relationships we have with the world and with each other. I like to use this pretty simple analogy, but it's a powerful one. So if I told you that a dog bit me, if I told you that, I would be telling you the facts. This dog bit me. But that's where the facts stop, and everything else is the story, the meaning that I have given it. So let me see here. I could elaborate and say that the dog bit me because I smelled like the hamburger that I just ate, right? Or I could say that the dog hated me because I'm tall and the dog felt threatened. Or I could say that the dog was trying to protect its owner, or that the dog was frightened and injured. But whatever it is, I'm just making it up because the dog can't tell me, right? See, whatever I make up beyond the facts tell you a lot about me. Not a whole lot about the dog, but a lot about me and how I see myself in relationship to the world. Those beliefs are what is going forward to create my tomorrow. They go forward into creating my expectations about my experiences with dogs. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I truly believe that that dog bit me because I smelled like a hamburger, I may never eat a hamburger again, right? I would be going to a friend's house and saying, oh, do you have dogs? Because I'm really tall and dogs don't like me because I'm tall. You laugh, but we all do this stuff, right? You all know someone in your life that avoids something benign because they had some kind of weird relationship with that thing as a child or somewhere in the past, and now they avoid it at all costs. Fear continues to motivate their behavior. Either they told themselves a meaning story about an incident, or someone else explained a meaning story to them. The lies that they've been told they got to unbelieve, right? And now that limits them. And it's easy to spot this fear stuff in other people, but we all do it. Somehow when we were very young, almost all of us decide that we're not good enough. I see heads shaking, right? We're not good enough for something. You know, your line might not be, I'm not good enough. It might be, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not from the right part of town, I'm not lucky enough, something. Bottom line is, I'm not enough. You know, like those self-love puzzles I talked about several weeks ago. We're solving those all the time. That not enough story is the one that comes from having a strange experience, or a bizarre family like mine, or a background in poverty, or learning difficulties, or racial inequality, or being very unique in some way, maybe physical disabilities. These ideas may have come to us in the past, but most of us are still bringing them alive in ourselves today. The fear of being exposed as not being enough motivates a lot of behavior for us, a lot of avoidance, and causes us to play small today. But the truth is that today we're building and creating our tomorrow. Our thoughts and beliefs that we hold today about ourselves and the world around us are planting the seeds of our life that we will walk into as we go forward. That's what our lesson is about, building our tomorrows today. So today, in this moment, we're building a mold. That's the way I like to say it. We're building a mold that Spirit will fill with the energy of life for us to experience at some point in the future. Another way to say it is, whatever we're experiencing in this day is a reflection of our consciousness at some point in the past. Right? So our future is going to be built from the consciousness that we're holding today. So what are we using today to build our tomorrow? Are we using the freshest ingredients? Are we choosing thoughts that reflect our highest evolved beliefs and our new self-image? We talked about that in Sacred Cup. We feel like new things are bursting out in our lives. Those are coming from a new self-image that we have. Or are we recycling old thoughts and stories and woundings and beliefs from the past to build the most for our future? Are we recycling the thoughts about not being good enough? Yesterday in our opening activity, if you were here, we illustrated that if we take the time to learn new things and educate ourselves, we don't have to recycle or reuse the same building materials of life that we've always used. Because sometimes when we're building something new, it's easiest to go to the most familiar stuff, right? I can imagine that when a home builder goes into Home Depot, they probably don't go into Home Depot, they probably have their own store, but if they were to go into Home Depot, a home builder, they would go to the same familiar aisles and buy the same wood, the same nails, the same pipes and wires and whatever else they have to use, and they're going to use the ones they've used forever. It takes greater effort to learn about a new product and adjust every other product to accommodate this newest and latest home building material, right? It might make the house he's building better, but is it really worth all of that extra effort? All of the houses he's built in the past are doing fine today, so why make changes, right? Isn't that our nature? But what if this home builder had the opportunity to build a new house for himself? Boy, he would research every little thing, wouldn't he? He would know the latest and greatest and best and select the best stuff he could to create the house for himself and his family, right? And we know that's human nature because real estate agents, what do? They will say, builder's house. They say this is built by the owner, right? Because they know they're saying this is a good one. He picked the stuff for himself, right? The thing is, it's builder's choice. It's always builder's choice. All of life is builder's choice. Whatever the materials we use to build with, we get to choose them, right? Ernest Holmes has this to say. He said, cut loose the threads of previous experiences and deliberately make up our minds that we shall no longer create our future out of the old past. But he emphasizes that we have to deliberately make up our minds. When can we make up our minds? Today, now. It doesn't take months of vigorous energy to make up our minds. We can do it today. How quickly can you change your mind? I can tell you exactly how quickly I can change my mind. Just go out to dinner with me and you're going to see it, right? See, I'll be reading the menu at home and I'll be like studying, and I even tell Terry, this is what I'm going to order. And she does it too. But then we get it to a restaurant, and in a split second, when the waiter asks for my order, I can instantly change and make up my mind to go in some completely different direction just like that. Do you do that too? Like you go in with a plan and boom, you change your mind. Isn't it a more current and powerful choice to make a decision at that moment based on the kind of current smells or what you see on someone else's plate or the tasties you have right now? It's like that old choice you made, kind of not the best one in the moment, right? So we must make up our mind that we will not build our tomorrow based on the past. We're going to deliberately set into motion a new thought, a new idea, a new belief to experience tomorrow. That's what we're trying to do individually and collectively this summer. We're trying to move that direction, right? We're trying to go this way. We know that we've got to believe something before we can receive it. We must believe something today before we can receive it tomorrow. Here's how Ernest Holmes described it in this book called How to Use the Science of Mind. He said, when Jesus said we should believe even before we receive, he was explaining the operation of the mental law of cause and effect. If nothing is believed in it, then nothing is acted upon by it. But since there is such a law, and since we're always believing something, the law will always be operating upon what we believe, in the way we believe it. It's not that we are to introduce a new law, but that we bring the law we are always using under our conscious control. We are always working with the law, either consciously or unconsciously, to cause the effects of our lives. To build our tomorrows, we work with the law today. There's a saying, today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Today is eternal. It's always today. We can only live in today. Today is when we're creating the tomorrow we will step in. And this begs the question, what future are you thinking yourself into? What future are you speaking yourself into? What future are you believing yourself into and acting yourself into? This is the gift of now. We can deliberately use this moment to create an amazing life by consciously unifying ourselves with the power of good, to use Emma Curtis Hopkins' word. And Holmes wrote, the living spirit is incarnated in every man's soul, and every woman's for that matter. The entire nature of a divine being is bequeathed to us. There is a law of spiritual authority, which is our command. Our spiritual authority is our command. What Holmes is saying is that we've been given the spiritual authority over our own life. If we want to go along with the rest of the world, having the same experience as everyone else, we can do that. We can totally choose that. If we want to play by the law of averages, we can do that. If we want to use builder's grade everything, builder's grade thoughts and expectations, if we want to continue to stand on the foundation that our parents in our younger years provided us, great. But we don't have to, because if we want to upgrade our materials, if we want to upgrade our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions, we can do that too. And this is choosing where the power of our minds come into play. How many of you play sports? Several people. I love sports. I know it's kind of cliche, I must admit, but I've watched a lot of softball, and I love softball. Despite my C in college, I do love it. I truly didn't play very much along the road of life, but I cheered at a lot of games because I always had a sporty spice girlfriend, and they play softball, right? So yeah, I was more of a cheerleader than a player. But I will tell you this, as a cheerleader, I got to observe a lot. And here is what I noticed about being the batter. As the batter is standing at home base, waiting for the pitch, I've watched them, they scan the field, looking for the possibilities to hit the ball. And then, if you watch closely, they're going to position their bodies in a direction where they're going to hit that ball. And when the pitch comes, they keep their eye on the ball, and if it is in alignment with the direction they desire, they swing and hit the ball where they want it to go. Right? The field and the players are there, but the batter sees them with the mind's eye as a possibility, and he uses that inner vision, hitting the ball where there's that open gap. They first imagine hitting the ball into the gap. Then their actions, standing the way they stand and assuming positions and swinging at the pitch, those are their actions. Those support them in hitting the ball to go where they thought it was going to go. They believe it so much that they start running immediately. They don't see where it goes. They just start running, right? Because they assume it's going where they want to go. They prepare for success. The secret in sports is to prepare your body to have the successful experience. The secret is to prepare your mind to have the successful experience. In team sports, the entire team prepares to have a successful outcome of the game. And that is also the secret for us as we build our tomorrow. Every day is a new day. Every day. Every ball game's a new ball game. We can't build today's ball game from the mindset of disappointment from yesterday. Players don't even wear the same uniforms for the next game. They wash them, they get that off. Today's a new day, fresh uniforms, a new mindset, new possibilities. Ernest Holmes says, prepare yourself to receive the best life has to offer. See, too often people promise themselves that tomorrow's going to be better and different, but they don't prepare themselves for that. Tomorrow is a repeat of today. If you want a better tomorrow, today is the day you have to do something different. I think the best information on that comes from our own experience. Most of us, just don't pack up and move. We do a lot of thinking and preparing for that. We continue to live in the effects of our causes for a long time before we decide to do something differently. And typically we kind of rebuild ourselves and our lives bit by bit, room by room, so to speak. We can look at figures in the news and see that sometimes it takes a very long time for effects to show up and manifest fully. Sometimes long forgotten seeds. How many of you planted seeds in your life long ago, and then all of a sudden you turn around the corner and there it is, fully manifested for ourselves? So we always surrender the when to Spirit and the how. Our job is to consciously build, consciously use today at its fullest. I want to close with a poem by Eller Wheeler Wilcox. That's a mouthful. The language is beautifully antique, but the message is clearly my lesson today. And she writes, build on resolve and not upon regret the structure of thy future. Do not grope among the shadows of old sins, but let thine own soul's light shine upon the path of hope and dissipate the darkness. Waste no tears upon the blotted record of lost years, but turn the leaf and smile, oh smile, to see the fair white pages that remain for thee. Prate not of thy repentance, but believe the spark divine dwells in thee. Let it grow. That which the unpreaching spirit can achieve, the grand and all creative forces know. They will assist and strengthen as the light lifts up the acorn to the oak's tree's height. Thou hast but to resolve, and lo, God's whole great universe shall fortify thy soul. Isn't that beautiful? Will you pray with me? I invite you to know this with me. Know that in this day, all power resides. In this day, the spiritual power that lives within each one of us is unfolding as our highest self. There is nothing about the past that has power today unless we decide that. And right here and right now, we let go and remember our power to co-create our lives with this divine force within us. And know that the universe responds to us as we move forward. It's not about yesterday. It's about today leading in tomorrow. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to teach. I'm so grateful for this community and for the writings of Ernest Holmes that changed my life and changed so many lives. And with that gratitude, I let this prayer go, and we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.